want you to hit me as hard as you can.
Charlie Sheen's real name is Carlos Estevez, which sounds way more badass than Charlie Sheen, but whatever. We all know his papa, Martin Sheen. Then there's his big brother, Emilio, who was a huge teen idol in the 80s. Now, Hollywood has many bad boys, but Charlie is beyond bad. There is not a word invented yet to describe his debauchery, but there has been a word invented to describe how talented he is. And that word is very. He's very talented. He has magnificent range. He can be a soldier, and he can spoof a soldier. That kind of career genre balance takes some skill. And I guess you can say the dude made a career off of misbehaving. He got in trouble, and he made it work for him. His real-life bad boy image probably helped him get some really interesting characters. Charlie works hard, and he plays hard. Often a little too hard. Sometimes he's winning, and sometimes he's losing, but he's always Charlie. So what the fuck happened to Charlie Sheen? WTF?
Especially when you see how I partied, man. It was epic. The run I was on made Sinatra, Flynn, Jagger, Richards, all of them just look like, you know, droopy-eyed, armless children.
His first film was the infamous, unreleased Grizzly 2. So I don't really think that counts. So Charlie's first official feature film was John Milius's Red Dawn, where he gets to kill some commies, alongside an all-star cast of young 80s heartthrobs. These radical teens made fighting the Soviet forces seem so far out. Then he played a murderous youth in The Boys Next Door, just like his daddy in Badlands. And then came the film Lucas, starring Corey Haim, which I don't really want to talk about, but we will. Later. This was followed by a small yet memorable role in the classic teen comedy Ferris Bueller's Day Off, where Charlie played a strung-out drug addict. And in order to achieve this look, Charlie didn't take any drugs. This was before his heavy drug use. He just stayed up for 2 days, which is kind of odd because later he would become a real-life strung-out drug addict. Art became reality. Then there was The Wraith, which is one of those cheesy, fun 80s supernatural sci-fi adventures. And even when it's bad, it's still pretty dang good.
I can't do that again.
But Charlie's big break came with the film Platoon. His casting was a clever homage to his father's work in Apocalypse Now. This felt like it was Oliver Stone's way of saying, this is the new generation of cinema, telling new stories but with the same blood. Figuratively and literally, basically saying that war continues on for generations. Charlie is our trusted narrator, and he guides us through this powerful story, which features an incredible ensemble cast. It's just amazing to think that at that time in his career, he was leading such a film. And this was one of the first films to send actors to boot camp for accuracy. And I guess it paid off because this bad boy won Best Picture, and Best Director, and others, like editing and stuff that most people don't care about except for editors. I'm an editor, I'm editing this. So Charlie Sheen earned a rightful spot alongside his daddy's Vietnam film, and he was only 20 years old. Platoon showed the world that Charlie was a legit movie star, and not just some guy related to famous people. And we would discover that Charlie Sheen absolutely shines under the direction of Oliver Stone. But before he could work with Oliver Stone again, there were the films Three for the Road and No Man's Land. Then came another wonderful Oliver Stone motion picture, Wall Street. In this film, Charlie is pretty much playing himself. But instead of a hotshot playboy actor whose dad is Martin Sheen, he's a hotshot playboy stockbroker whose dad is Martin Sheen. Remember everyone, greed is good. And so is this movie. There's this incredible scene that's a father and son blow up at the end of the second act. This particular scene right here was brought up to me by a good friend of mine from film school. This guy is the biggest Wall Street fan I've ever met. He's my go-to Wall Street insider info guy. For the movie, not the real Wall Street. So this film school friend always says that this scene is either the best acted scene ever, or it's a real Sheen emotion showdown. You decide.
What I see is a jealous old machinist who can't stand the fact that his son's become more successful than he has.
What you see is a guy who never measured a man's success by the size of his wallet!
That's because you never had the guts to go out into the world and stake your own claim.
Now, I think most of us can agree that Charlie Sheen's best work is with Oliver Stone, and unfortunately their relationship suffered when Oliver cast Tom Cruise in Born on the 4th of July instead of Sheen. Which is fine, but this really offended Sheen. He didn't even get a phone call from his good buddy Stone, and they didn't speak for years, which is unfortunate, because imagine all the things they could have done. So the Stone Age was over, even though they were able to patch things up many years later for a Wall Street Money Never Sleeps cameo. Then he worked with brother Emilio Estevez in the western Young Guns. It's a really fun take on the Billy the Kid story. It's like a watered-down mainstream version of The Wild Bunch, but with young 80s Hollywood hotshots. It's fun, I like it. He joined the cast of the critically acclaimed 8 Men Out, the story of the 1919 World Series scandal. And then there was another critically acclaimed baseball film, Major League. It's really funny. He's perfect in the role as a baseball bad boy. Sheen loves baseball. His star was rising and he was the king of the Hollywood 80s party scene. Charlie knew how to have a good time, and that cocaine always seemed to find a way up his nostrils. And those hookers, they always seemed to find a way up into his hotel. And those hotels, he always seemed to find a way to smash them up. Then Charlie took a shot at being an action hero in the film Navy SEALs, which many critics called embarrassing for the Platoon actor.
See you later!
Then there was some more brotherly love in Men at Work. This film divided audiences, many didn't like it, but others consider it a cult classic. He tried the military movie thing again with Cadence, directed by his daddy, but it fell short of impressing most people. Charlie Sheen's personal life often overshadows anything he does on the silver screen, like in 1990 when he shot Kelly Preston. That's right, Charlie Sheen shot his then fiancée, Kelly Preston, with a f***ing bullet from a f***ing gun. Accidentally. She survived, and went on to marry John Travolta instead, who has not shot her. Yet. Charlie got to act with and be directed by Clint Eastwood in The Rookie, which is always an honor. But then Charlie took everyone by surprise and embraced the art of the spoof, with the hilarious film Hot Shots. This film perfectly pokes fun at Top Gun, and is just a wild good time of pure silliness. And it's sad that they don't make comedies like this anymore. I guess the Scary Movie franchise is somewhat to blame for that, which Charlie was a part of, but we'll get to that later. Hot Shots was so funny that they made a part 2, this time spoofing the Rambo-style action movies of that era. This parody does a great job at pointing out the absurd ultra-violence in modern cinema, while also serving as a message about war and the human condition and how we can... Actually, it's just a funny movie! I mean, silliness! Look at that! Look at what... Oh my gosh. Oh, wow! Wow! That's just comedy right there. They make fun of Saddam Hussein. There's a funny chicken scene. I mean, look at that chicken. And even though this film is not serious at all, Charlie took his preparation for the film very seriously. He worked out for 8 hours a day in order to achieve his Rambo bod. He wanted audiences to laugh at the jokes and the gags, and not his out-of-shape bod. That needed to be the one believable thing to hold the film together, or else everything would have just exploded. And of course, the film breaks the fourth wall with beloved Papa Sheen.
I loved you in Wall Street!
By this time, Charlie's partying was at an all-time high. Charlie soon found himself consumed in rehab and interventions. So he stayed sober for a year and 1 day to prove a point. But he started up again the second those 366 days were over. I'm not sure what his point was, but he proved it. Sober for a year and a day, you did it. Then you just went right back to your old ways. Charlie does whatever he wants, whenever he wants, to whoever he wants, however he wants, and he wants it all. So Charlie was partying it up and being silly on screen, but he also got serious too, with Beyond the Law, a straight-to-video release. But this film proved that he can bounce back and forth between genres like it's Pong. And it also proved that he needed to do straight-to-video films to pay the bills, and to pay for his drugs, and his hookers. At this point in time, Charlie Sheen should have been at the level of Tom Cruise, but he wasn't. He has a supporting role in Christopher Coppola's Deadfall, but Charlie and everybody else is overshadowed by the juggernaut that is Nicolas Cage. Then there was the Three Musketeers, which I'm surprised Disney even let him in this film considering how much of a risk he was, but he's Charlie Sheen. Even Disney had to use him. And the Three Musketeers is an underrated thrill ride in my opinion. It's one of Disney's best of that type of Disney movie. I put this up there with Pirates of the Caribbean, the first one. Charlie, Kiefer, and Platt are the perfect heroes for this adventure. This film is fun, thrilling, and it doesn't take itself too seriously. But it's also not like straight up Mickey Mouse stuff either. It's just some good old swashbuckling Alexander Dumas inspired fun. And you can now watch The Three Musketeers on loop on Disney+. He did another action film, The Chase, which Roger Ebert said was slick, charming, but had little to it. He returned to the baseball diamond in Major League 2, but critics tore it apart, saying that the humor was flat and forced, which is a critique that sounds a lot like the comments on all my videos. Then there was another so-so action flick, Terminal Velocity. He plays a skydiver who battles the Russian mafia on a quest for gold. Sounds awesome. More scandal would come years later. Not only did Charlie go into drug rehab, his true womanizing ways were revealed when a little black book shook up Hollywood and Charlie's name was all over it. The little black book belonged to a Hollywood Madam of the Night, Heidi Fleiss. This revealed that Charlie spent at least $50,000 on high-class call girls in 1 year's time. And Charlie Sheen was almost proud of this. He was not ashamed. His shameless and brutally honest attitude pretty much saved his career. He was just like, yep, that's me, that's who I am, that's what I do, I'm Charlie Sheen. Other movie stars would not survive such scandals. But he owned it and used that to create this image of a bad boy that Hollywood had never seen before.
They're the best at what they do, and I'm the best at what I do, and together it's like, it's on.
But remember, girls, they're called bad boys for a reason. And the wrath of Charlie continued after his girlfriend at the time claimed that he physically abused her. This resulted in misdemeanor battery and probation. And this was soon followed by a near-fatal drug overdose. And another rehab stay that lasted less than 1 day. But he still kept making movies. He took on an alien invasion in The Arrival, but this came out around the same time as Independence Day, and audiences could only handle one alien attack that year. And I'm just learning this now, but Charlie actually took over the role of Charlie in All Dogs Go to Heaven 2. And that's his voice. It's not Burt Reynolds anymore. That's Charlie Sheen. Every child's favorite dead dog. He got chickenpox on Friends, in the one with the chickenpox. And many know that Charlie Sheen is a real-life conspiracy theorist. He's one of the best. And his love/obsession with conspiracy theories has influenced many of his film choices.
Shadow Conspiracy,
which has 0% on Rotten Tomatoes, but I'm sure there's some vast deep state conspiracy behind that low rating. He did the Brett Ratner buddy action comedy Money Talks. Critics didn't care for it, but audiences loved it, and it brought back some life into his career.
Thanks.
There was Bad Day on the Block, Postmortem, Code of Conduct, Letter from Death Row, written and directed and starring his buddy Bret Michaels from Poison, Free Money, and Five Aces. And we all know that Charlie loves his pornography, which is probably why he and his brother made the film Rated X, which is rated R. And he's in Being John Malkovich, but it's just a cameo, but it's a cameo worth mentioning. His television career then took off after he replaced Michael J. Fox on Spin City. Sheen was now sober, and things were really looking good for him. People really liked him on that show, and this would open the doors to more TV success.
What are the odds?
And while he was doing that, he made a romantic comedy called Good Advice with his real-life love interest, Denise Richards. He then married Denise Richards in 2002, and that same year he won a Golden Globe for his work in Spin City.
This is so surreal. This is like a sober acid trip.
But only a few years into the marriage, a pregnant Denise filed for divorce. Apparently, it's hard to be married to Charlie Sheen. Denise claims that Charlie created a very dangerous environment to live in. He left guns all around the house and allegedly threatened to kill her. in addition to his addictions to gambling, pornography, and drugs. And his obsession with conspiracy theories was getting out of control. And it didn't take long for Charlie to marry again, but he threatened that wife with a knife. Allegedly. So yet another abuse charge on Charlie, and he was arrested and spent Christmas in jail. And while researching the life of Charlie Sheen, I honestly have lost track of all of his domestic abuse allegations. So just from now on, just assume that every few years, Charlie gets in trouble for some reason or another. Yet he still continued to make films while dealing with all of these scandals. All of the crimes that Charlie has been accused of, he has denied. I believe, most of them, at least. Charlie said he didn't do it. He returned to the world of the spoof with Scary Movie 3. It's no Hot Shots, but there's some silly goofiness that you could only hope for from a Scary Movie. Charlie's pretty much spoofing Mel Gibson in Signs here, and it features a scene of him fighting Michael Jackson. It doesn't get any more stupid than that, but it's supposed to be stupid, so that makes it smart. Right? Then there was a supporting role in The Big Bounce. Not bad. And in 2003, he played one of the men in the hit TV show 2.5 Men. This show was huge and made him the highest paid actor on television, eventually ranking in $2 million an episode. The character is loosely based on Charlie, but a safe-for-network TV version. So technically, his bad boy wild child image helped his career. And even with the horrendous laugh track, the show has its moments of hilarity. It's just nice to watch Charlie be Charlie. It's strangely charming to watch him just do his thing. Even though he keeps doing them, he hates the environment of the sitcom. Take after take after take, and the monotony is just not fun or funny for Charlie. And Charlie likes to have fun.
Charlie Harper?
Yeah?
And of course, while all of this was going on, there was yet another abuse incident involving Charlie Sheen, a porn star, a trashed hotel, and the police. But Charlie is an invincible superstar who benefits from Hollywood elite privilege. The rules just don't apply to him. He's beyond the law. So while he was busy being the biggest television star in the world, he was also busy going on wild drug benders that would last for days and days. One of these benders even ended with Charlie in the hospital, even though Charlie claims he went to the hospital for a ruptured hernia after laughing at Dave Chappelle's blind KKK skit. But the studio says he went to the hospital because of a drug bender. And for some reason, I don't believe either of them. Those events and that behavior were very concerning to the show's producers, and this hit series was put on hiatus until Sheen could clean up his act and go to rehab. Even though Charlie insists that his partying never interfered with his work. He always showed up on time, he always hit his marks, he always said his lines. So I don't know. Sheen did not take the suggestion of going to rehab seriously and claims that he was in complete control of his life. He called into Alex Jones' radio show one day to discuss the hiatus from 2.5 Men, and that's when the media monster was created.
I think close to the last decade, effortlessly and magically converting your tin cans into pure gold. And the gratitude I get is this charlatan, clearly someone who believes he is above the law. Well, you've been warned, dude. Bring it.
He would hit the world with the violent torpedoes of truth by releasing bizarre ranting videos, documenting his campaign against the television studio. He displayed so much confidence, so much craziness, and so much Charlie. It was almost poetry. Charlie exposed his raw soul to the World Wide Web and it exploded. We were hanging on his every word. This was a pop cultural phenomenon unlike any other we had ever seen. He broke Twitter records, gaining over 1 million followers in one day. And his world tour sold out in minutes. He really was a rock star. It was like having a front row seat to a celebrity breakdown in real time. And it was so gosh darn fun and sometimes sad, but it was always entertaining, depending on your definition of that word. It's hard to describe, so I'm just gonna let Charlie speak for himself.
Now that I have your lazy fucking attention, world, sit back and rejoice. For the Malibu Messiah, the Condor of Calabasas, the fucking warlock of your jealous face sits before you, undigested hummus trading real estate for this fire dance.
He was breaking down what it meant to be a celebrity in the most ugly and pure way possible. Was he spiraling? Or was he freeing himself? I don't know. This was unthinkable. The biggest TV star in the world was trying to destroy his own career in front of the whole world. And everyone loved watching it. This was his new show, and it was a smash hit. It was the most entertaining meltdown/awakening of all time. And during those few months of Sheen pandemonium, everywhere you went, people were trying to squeeze in that catchphrase, winning, into everything. Winning, and everyone who did it thought they were hilarious, and you know what? They were. Blah, 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 winning, yada, 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 winning. Everyone was trying to squeeze winning into every conversation. And I miss that. We should bring it back. Winning. It's hard to imagine now. It seems like a far-off dream or a nightmare, but Charlie Sheen was huge. And for a while, it was like a cult, and we were all followers, whether we liked it or not. We were like, yes, what will you say next? All eyes were on this mighty warlock, who may or may not have been sober. Or sane. Some even called it performance art. 'Cause Charlie is an actor, with a very bizarre sense of humor, so it's quite possible. Others say it was drugs, and others say it was mental illness, and others say it was all of the above.
Everybody wins!
And all of this nonsense actually lost him the custody of his children. The studio eventually replaced him on 2.5 Men with Ashton Kutcher, of all people. So they killed him off and threw in Ashton, which always felt like we were getting punked. Charlie refers to this time period of his life as a meltdown that transformed into a melt forward. He claims that he got bored with all the drugs and partying and instantly willed his addiction to go away, with only the power of his mind. And this seems strange to most people, but I hope it works for Charlie.
I had more than fun. I had me with it.
Then he got his big comeback show that was supposed to be even bigger than 2.5 Men. It was Anger Management. And once again, Charlie was playing a man named Charlie. And once again, his character is a baseball player. Now, I was all in on Charlie's wild, out-of-control melt forward, and I followed his every move during that time. And it felt like it was all leading to this moment of him getting his own show. But when it was time for that show to air, I had lost interest. And I'm sure I'm not the only one. And just like Charlie getting bored with his drugs and hookers, we got bored with Charlie. It's maybe too much Charlie all at once. For lack of a better word, we overdosed on Charlie. And then we were hungover and we're like, no, I don't want another sitcom of him. No. I've had enough. That was plenty. It was fun while it lasted, but that's too much. Come on. That's what it felt like. And honestly, I've never seen an episode of Anger Management. Is it any good? I have no idea. And does this have anything to do with the Adam Sandler movie? I've always wondered that. That always confused me. Have y'all seen it? Comment your comment in the comments. So it wasn't the big hit we were all promised. And that same year, he assaulted a dentist. He wasn't exactly winning at that time, but I'm sure Charlie could argue differently.
I still got it.
He voiced a cartoon dog again in the god-awful animated film Food Fight. And Charlie worked with another Coppola on A Glimpse into the Mind of Charles Swan III, which Charlie thought would be his big acting comeback, and I thought so too. But it wasn't. It's not a horrible mess of a movie, but it's not a great movie either. It seemed like the only person who knew what to do with Charlie Sheen at that time was Robert Rodriguez, by casting him as the president in Machete Kills, and he was finally credited with his birth name, Carlos Estevez. Then he did a family comedy written by David Spade called Mad Families. Now, I feel like I should give everyone a trigger warning, because I'm about to cover the following topics: 9/11, AIDS, Donald Trump, and pedophilia. All subject matters I never thought I would discuss on JoBlo.com, but it's come to this, and I blame Charlie, so here we go.
Stay tuned, good soldiers. I'll see you all very soon on the battlefield. Dog speed.
Just when you thought the tragic events of September 11th, 2001 couldn't get any worse, Charlie Sheen, who is a 9/11 truther by the way, had to go and make a movie about it. It came out in 2017, and as of now, this is pretty much Charlie's last feature film. 9/11 stars Whoopi, and I haven't seen this film, but I did watch the trailer, and it just feels like it's in very poor taste. I don't want to watch it at all. Now, United 93 and World Trade Center showed us that it is possible to do a tasteful, powerful, good movie about the events on 9/11, but Charlie's movie doesn't seem like that. It just feels horrible on so many levels, on all of the levels. It's like, even Bin Laden probably thinks this film is in bad taste. Like, ugh. Just when we thought that we had heard everything we were ever going to hear from Charlie, he breaks the news that he is HIV positive, and he has been for a few years. Now yes, this is a surprising story, and we feel really bad for Charlie, like we're sorry. But it really wasn't that shocking that a guy who spent decades doing drugs and prostitutes became HIV positive. I mean, I hate to be the guy to say it, but we all pretty much assumed that he had something, right? What is shocking is that Charlie had survived this long. And of course, HIV is very serious. We wish Charlie nothing but happy, healthy days. But looking back, it does make all that tiger blood talk a little awkward.
Tiger blood, Adonis DNA, you, booger blood, poo-poo DNA.
He experimented with alternative medicine, and for a while it looked like Charlie was going to cure AIDS. But he didn't. Yet. But there is something positive about Charlie being positive, because his celebrity status has actually raised a lot of AIDS prevention awareness. Doctors have called it the Charlie Sheen effect. I'm not joking. It's called the Charlie Sheen effect. It says so on Wikipedia, which is nothing but true. But this illness has not slowed down Charlie's scandals. Around that same time, he was being investigated for yet another death threat against yet another ex-fiancée. Just keeps on coming. Then Charlie got himself into hot water again when he took to Twitter and asked God to kill President Donald Trump. I'm not sure if God follows Charlie Sheen on Twitter, but that's not a nice thing to do, Mr. Sheen. And just when you thought the story of Charlie Sheen could not get any more controversial, then came that Corey Feldman documentary. Did y'all watch it? My whole family actually gathered around the TV screen and we stared at nothing until we fell asleep because hackers. They hacked it.
Tell me who raped Corey Haim.
But then the next day those hackers were defeated, and then we could actually learn the name of the Hollywood A-lister who allegedly raped Corey Haim. Now, many names were circling the rumor mills, and Charlie's name was one of them. And I actually remember his name being mentioned years before, so when it was revealed that Charlie Sheen was the alleged rapist of Corey Haim, we were all like, yeah, that's horrible, but you already told us that. Like, didn't we already know that? So it was kind of anticlimactic, but it was still a very interesting watch. And I know this is a very sensitive subject, and I honestly feel like Feldman is doing a brave thing. And I believe that Hollywood has been infested with some real evil people. And if Corey Feldman is bringing awareness to Hollywood child abuse, then that is great. Now, do I 100% believe that a 19-year-old Charlie Sheen raped a 14 or 15-year-old Corey Haim on the set of Lucas? I don't know. I mean, you have to admit Charlie Sheen is into some pretty weird stuff. And anything is possible in Hollyweird, but I need more proof before I say anything. But no matter what, this is definitely something that's going to be hard to recover from, whether the allegations are true or false. I don't know. But this is JoBlo.com, and we talk about movies, so let's go back to talking about movies. Yeah, movies! Charlie Sheen is in some good movies, and some bad movies. He's given us films like Wall Street, Young Guns, Major League, Hot Shots, Hot Shots Part 2, Money Talks, The Three Musketeers, 8 Men Out, and frickin' Platoon, plus a stellar television career. He's a rock star from Mars, a warlord mega superstar, the most controversial person on the f***ing planet. Love him or hate him, the world will never be the same, because Charlie Sheen partied on it. And that's what the f*** happened to Charlie Sheen. Winning.